Welcome back to my film and TV channel, and we're going to have a look at a supernatural thriller today. That's what it's classed as. Okay. Some people didn't think it was that thrilling, but there we go. And this is something called Monstrous. Yes, it's a 15 certificate, 89 minutes, directed by Chris Siverston, written by Carol Crest. Released in the USA on May the 13th, 2022. It had a brief cinema release here in the UK as well, but very, very brief. That was released by Screen Media. And I'm doing this as at the 27th of July, 8 a.m. in the morning. So all the scores and comments at that date, they may have changed since then. So what are Joe Public thinking? Rotten Tomatoes audience, Joe Public, actually, a pretty impressive 3.8 out of 5. They sort of booked the trend in all fairness. So that's a 7.6 out of 10, isn't it? And there's quite a few reviews as well. It's not just one or two. Internet Movie Database, though, a bit more down on it. Just 4.6 out of 10 based on 1,569 scores and reviews left. And if you break that down, take out the 10 out of 10s, 1 out of 10s, 437 people scored between 6 and 9, and 908 scored between 2 and 5. So just a 32%, a third of people, just under a third of people, positive about it. And it stars, yes, Christina Ricci in the lead role, Santino Barnard, Colleen Camp, Lou Temple, and Nick Vallelonga. And Rotten Tomatoes, the critics, 54% positivity. So not great. That's based on 37. An average rating of just 4.9 out of 10. Again, not great. 20 fresh, though, and 17 rotten. So, yes, it should have been slightly over 5 on that basis, shouldn't it? The consensus of the website, Christina Ricci is capable of carrying a lot, but even her talents are tested by this often monstrously dull horror movie. See what they did there? Monstrously dull horror movie. Very, very good Rotten Tomatoes. Well done. Metacritic, the other critic site we look at, uses a weighted average 53%, 53 out of 100. So that's based on 10 critics. And it scored anywhere between a lowly 16 and 84 out of 100. So let's have a look at the critics themselves. Simon Abrams, he likes it. He was fresh on this. He's from RogerEbbett.com. He said, Rich's compelling performance with essential support from director Chris Siverston makes you want to follow Laura as she inevitably falls apart. Yeah, for me, Ricky's the difference in this. The 50s theme does enough for me as well, and just pulls it for me. And I will tell you now possibly into the watchable category, which a lot of people didn't think it did. Not so hot is Brent Simon. He didn't like it. He was rotten on this. He's from the AV Club. He says, an exercise in tedium, which checks the barest boxes of completed movie. Nothing exceptional, no, there isn't in this, but at least it was a completed movie, not like some of these supernatural thrillers we get where it's all open-ended or a rubbishy ending. I thought the ending for this was fine, which at least it is completed. Yes, Movie Nation, Roger Moore. Let's have a look at what did he say on this one. The jeopardy's built into the situation, he says, but the frights feel low stakes and simply don't get the scary job done. Yeah, the scares are struggling just a little bit, but as a lad, I mean, obviously, one thing that resonated with me is that a lad who used to watch Hammer horror films on my own at home when I was a kid. I used to live with my sister, even if it was a school night, and then go up the stairs. I used to run up the stairs and hide under the covers. It's sort of, a lot of this resonated with me. So the scares, yeah, in that sort of way, because it was how I felt. Obviously, it was in the 60s, not the 50s, but that's just how I felt at the time, because we were watching 50s type horror films then, weren't we, in the 60s? So, yeah, I could feel some of that. I don't think Roger Moore perhaps has lost a bit of his youthfulness and remember perhaps he didn't go through that phase that I did. Wall Street Journal's John Anderson, an uneven but likeable horror film, he said, with one of the better plot twists in recent memory. Yeah, it's an interesting plot twist. I don't think it made a lot of sense when you look back at it and trying to think back, well, what brought this, what happened there. So I've not gone back and rewatched it to find out if it did make more sense. But it is a horror anyway, so I don't try and think too much about anything making sense in a horror film. Total Films, Matt Glasby gave it a reasonable 3 out of 5. He said an aggressively set design world that's steeped in vintage monster movies. I said that's why it harked back to my youth in it. If the horror element feels oddly tame, he says, just hang on in there. In due course, it becomes clear how the project attracted an actor of Ricci's calibre. I think it might have been slightly better looking or read better on the script than it came out. But I mean, that's probably a part parcel of a lot of films, isn't it? But I can see, I can agree with that from Matt there of what he's saying. So on to my final thoughts. As you can see, I'm reasonably positive on this. Okay, it's a monster under the bed with an okay twist, as I said, which whether it made sense or not, I'd have to go back and think about it. I don't want to think too long and hard about it. I've got to move on and look at other things. But I like the 50s theme. I like the setting. I like the soundtrack. Christina Ricci pulls out all the stops, does very, very well. Because basically it's her. It's a vehicle for Christina, really, in this. And it was better than some films that masquerade as horror these days. I just watched one quite recently that there will be a review probably going out at a similar time to this called She Will, yeah, which was a horror, but a British one. But I preferred this, in all fairness, even though most people preferred the other one. Definitely for Ricci fans, a simple monster in the lake homage, and it appealed to the 10-year-old horror movie watcher that I was, and I think that's probably why it did. I think some people will probably have a downer on it, and they have. I mean, I'm going to give it 6 out of 10, my watchable score, just because it appealed to me. It just took me back a little bit to me, and it's very personal. So if you had a sort of a young upbringing on horror films like I did, and you used to hide under the bed if you heard under the sheets if you heard a noise, and then obviously it might resonate a little bit, but that's what probably made it for me. 6 out of 10. Let me know what you think, guys, if you get to watch this. Anyway, thanks for watching. Please, until we meet again, stay safe, everyone. Bye for now.